Welcome to the Dynasty Football Key. On this show, we talk NFL year round to unlock the path to winning your league. Today, I'm demonstrating the difference between a 12-team league and a 14-team league size and which positions to prioritize in rookie drafts. So let's jump into it. We've got a wins over replacement graph here showing a 12-team and a 14-team league. So wanted to start with, this is the 12 team that we're looking at right now. This blue line is the quarterbacks. So as you can see, the quarterbacks in this super flex league, meaning you start two quarterbacks, they're above the value of any other position except for McCaffrey right at the beginning, who was just incredible this past season. But the top 18 quarterbacks, I mean, shoot, really, it's not until you get to Kirk Cousins where it switches from the value really being with the quarterbacks. So that's the top 20, 21 quarterbacks. So, it's really highlighting that quarterbacks are very important. But when you've got multiple leagues, like a lot of us do, trying to shift between the leagues and make sure you've got the right mind frame, it's helpful to look at some of these graphs. A lot of different places have them. This was with Dynasty Daddy. Shout out to those guys. And really, when I jumped from this 12 team over to the 14 team league, you can see there's even a bigger gap in between the importance of these quarterbacks. These leagues have similar league settings, and you can still kind of see that the quarterbacks amongst themselves are very similar in where they are. But, now there's a clear gap between quarterback 21 and wide receiver 21. You can definitely see it there in this graph. Even in this 14-team league, Josh Allen is actually more valuable than McCaffrey, whereas when I go back to the 12-team league, McCaffrey is actually the most valuable player in fantasy. So the point is, when you're in these rookie drafts, that same importance is going to carry over. And I know there's a big three quarterbacks in this draft, but in those 14-team leagues, it might be important to go after those other quarterbacks later in the draft a little bit sooner. I'm going to show this same thing in a similar way, I'm going to show it just on a draft, an actual draft board. So I'm in a draft right now, and this is a live draft. You see we're still on the clock here at the bottom. If I move my picture out of the way. So we're still live in this draft. We're going to scroll to the top here because I want to show, again, this is a 12-team league. And, there's still your normal run of quarterbacks at the beginning. But if you go over to the 14-team league, you can really see these quarterbacks get taken a lot sooner. I'm going to try to do a quick compare and contrast just between these two. Focus on the red here, right? This is the 12-team league. It's more spread out. So people got their two starters. In this league, you start two quarterbacks. People got their two starters and kind of waited. And then some of the people who did not start with quarterbacks, they waited to let some of that value fall. But if we go over to the 14-team league, you really see that red is heavily condensed at the top. This 14-team league, I'll admit, I had to do just a mock draft on my own to complete this. I'm not in a 14-team mock right now or startup. So, and since some of the sleeper picks aren't converted over for rookies, the ADP has some of them slip through, like a Michael Penix way down here. But mostly the quarterbacks that remain at the bottom are backups. And at the top, people really had to go after their quarterbacks early, and they're just gone so fast. So using that same thing, I'm going to show one more time. So this is the 14-team league. This is the 12-team where it's more spread out. But now I'm going to go to a 12-team rookie mock draft that I got queued up here. And you can see you've got your big three quarterbacks, rookie-wise, and then you got a Bo Nix late. Bo Nix is getting a lot of buzz. Recently, good arm. Right now, pre-draft, it's hard to, really take a stance on who's going to be that fourth quarterback. Worth taking that flyer. But when we go over to a 14-team league, not only does Bo Nix go, but J.J. McCarthy goes in the first round. I would think if this wasn't a mock, I ended up taking Penix here, but I would think that if this wasn't a mock, someone else might end up taking Penix in that first round over one of those wide receivers because, again, you really do notice that value of production relative to what it means for people's rosters. You can see that more in these leagues, again, because of how much that gap between the value of these quarterbacks is for these 14-team leagues. So we're really going to have to find our tiers where we feel comfortable saying, okay, yeah, I'm comfortable passing on X player for that next quarterback because of the scarcity. Because realistically, in these 14-team leagues, the trading market for quarterbacks is a little bit tougher. What you're going to have to give up is a little bit tougher. In season, we all know there will be injuries, so making sure you have depth. We know there will be other backup quarterbacks that emerged this past season in 2023. There was so many quarterbacks who came out of nowhere. We had no expectations of them starting, and they got some starting opportunities. We know that will happen again. But still, we want to be prepared, draft some of the higher end talent. I would think even a Spencer Rattler late might make sense in these 14-team leagues. Showed well. All you really need, that graph, we're talking wins above replacement. These are not accounting full season long stats of the total overall number that they put up. It's really saying, am I able to get starts out of this player, and are those starts better than the next person that I could have played at that position? So some of those quarterbacks will get opportunity. We don't know when it might happen for the rookies. Some will start week one. Some may start after their bye week. Some may sit the first season. We don't know, but you could get thrust into an opportunity with injuries. And when that happens, it's pretty clear when to start those folks. So it is possible to get to capitalize on having those players on the back end of your roster. So I think, again, highlighting that difference between what these two types of formats is, it's hard to really quantify what this is abstractly in points, but if you just take it for what it is, where in this 12-team graph, 2.5 wins above replacement for a Josh Allen and really close for a Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. These are those rushing type quarterbacks. And then Dak really did have that connection with CeeDee Lamb and had a lot of passing statistics. He and Jordan Love had the most touchdowns on the season, so it makes sense that they are up there. And we've got Patrick Mahomes here. And you'll see that it really is quite a difference to make sure you had these guys over some of these lesser quarterbacks down the line. You highlight these names, you realize that these quarterbacks weren't very usable, like a Bryce Young, or you can see Tyson Bagent on here. He makes the list because he did get about a multiple week stretch of starting. But at that point, it is well below because he didn't put up that many points. So you can see that it's really the rushing quarterbacks at the top end And that's why for me, when I'm looking at these rookie drafts, uh, it makes sense to go after a Jaden Daniels. But Drake May has rushing ability. So does Caleb Williams. I feel good about these three being able to contribute. JJ McCarthy did not show rushing ability. He's young. He isn't a complete statue, but when you don't have those statistics in college, we cannot just expect it to happen in the NFL. Bo Nix has shown that he can definitely pass a lot, but he just won't be high up there on those wins above replacement type charts. Still, in these 14-team leagues, if you're saying a Bo Nix is comparable to a Kirk Cousins, if he were to go to the Vikings, that's still right there. If I can find it again, right here on that line of still being about as valuable as not any, but the 21st receiver, and with him being at 21, Bo Nix, that shows he's got really good value if he can, really string together similar season to what Kirk Cousins has. Not saying he will, just saying if that's on the range of outcomes, then when you're looking at the equivalent draft, then if you think these receivers are not going to be game-changing difference makers themselves, maybe you view them as a wide receiver 2 complementary piece, then it is worth going after those quarterbacks. I haven't even touched on the running backs because you see there's an incredible drop between the number 1 and 2 running back here. So don't really have to harp on the reason why we're not going to go after running backs early in these drafts. The characteristic of the top running back, Christian McCaffrey, is pass catching and having a full workload pretty much to himself. Kyron Williams also pretty much had that workload to himself. Raheem Mostert was one of the fastest running backs in the league. So I'm sure Chain is up here at some point, but a lot of these running backs that are up here had predominant workload. Even Rachaad White, there's no running backs that were behind him that were taking a lot of production. But a lot of these are pass catching running backs that are adding to that PPR element. And of course, below all of that is tight end. So there's really not too much need to prioritize the tight end. Number 1, Hawkinson did have some big games. Kelsey's still up there on a per game basis and spike week basis. But yeah, looking at that, it's just keeps leading me to believe in the 14-team leagues. I just absolutely have to see if if we're in the later part of these rounds, I'm willing to try to trade to get a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy if they're getting undervalued. I don't think they're necessarily taking them over a big time talent as Brock Bowers, but I think at the 108 and beyond, these other quarterbacks in 14-team leagues are definitely viable, and they could well exceed those numbers because we don't know, especially not pre-NFL Combine and pre-NFL Draft, which quarterbacks are really going to be franchise quarterbacks for a long time. So worth taking a shot on them. Again, now I'm looking at the 12-team league, and even here, it's still worth taking a chance if they become a Kirk Cousins or maybe a little bit lesser of a Tua Tagovailoa. If they can produce, they may very well be worth more than a lot of these players that we've got ahead of them. So really just wanted to put that quick video out to show that I haven't seen a lot of priority put on those later quarterbacks. It's just the big names. Folks, I think, just don't know which quarterback at the moment to put in after that. So it's more just take the talents that we know that are going to get drafted, since rumors are between the first and second round for a Bo Nix, a Michael Penix, a J.J. McCarthy. If they go in the second round, it's going to limit their opportunity, and a lot of your ability to get on the field is based on that opportunity early on. So, again, prioritize these quarterbacks in these rookie drafts. Don't let them slip. It's very easy to want to take Marvin Harrison over Drake Maye and Jaden Daniels. But when you go back to the overall big board, you're seeing the number one receiver in the game, Justin Jefferson, is well behind. It looks like 6 quarterbacks go in front of them and 2 right after him. And that's just in the 12 team. It can vary, but ultimately, if you don't get your guy, you're going to not be able to compete in these leagues and waiting until the next class. And right now, 2025, early look is we don't know exactly who quarterback 1 is, but some of the names that are at the top, the Shedeur Sanders, other players who we are not sure whether or not they're going to declare, like a Connor Wigman out of A&M. He could be the 2025 class, or he could go to the 2026 class since he got injured and only had those 4 games, so he didn't lose any eligibility. So he may stay longer. That might have been someone at the 2025 class I would have had at the top. So it's coming down to 2025 Quinn Ewers or out of Texas, or Georgia's Carson Beck. There's others, Drew Allar. But just with how the last season went, the stocks are a little bit all over the place. So I think this 2024 class is giving us quite a lot. It really is giving us a lot of options that, at least at the top, we have 2 Heisman winners in Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and we've got Drake Maye, who's the prototypical quarterback size, and Michael Penix, who was able to get a team to the national championship game, and J.J. McCarthy, who won the national championship game, and Bo Nix, who's looked really good, and Rattler, who was the MVP of the Senior Bowl. And there's some definitely some options here. So don't sleep on all of these guys. All right. So that'll do it for me today. Thanks for listening to the Dynasty Football Key. Please go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you're going to be taking in the top 5 of this upcoming draft. All right, take it easy.